Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
Build a sales funnel so you can escape digital Darwinism. Okay. Let's face the fact, or as the wise people say, the elephant in the room. Times are hard. I don't know about you, but we've been through one of the biggest lockdowns any human has ever had to come through. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and we've had to endure 287 days under lockdown. And I can say this was not easy, especially for businesses. It wasn't easy for my clients. It wasn't easy for just about everyone else. Even my kids couldn't even go to school, all of that stuff. But you know what? It's not a podcast about doom and gloom. I understand times are hard. No one can say otherwise. Sure, the global economy is in a bad way, and many things are going to get worse before they even get better. And we all know people who've been laid off on their jobs or businesses that have gone under, because they haven't been able to withstand the wrath of the pandemic. And I've got a bankruptcy lawyer client that I work with, and he's got a 4-month waiting list. Can you imagine? People want to declare bankruptcy, but he can't service them right about now, so they got to wait. You know what I mean? So if your business is still around and you're a coach, consultant, or small business owner, however poorly your sales are at the moment, here's a standing ovation for you. Congratulations. It's pretty brutal out there. You must have done something right. You must have maybe created a sales funnel that actually feeds you consistently with leads that you constantly can turn into clients that pay, stay, and refer. A lot of us had not created something like that. But all is not lost. We still have time to get up and start working on creating a sales funnel that would then create that never-ending flow of leads, which then is going to sustain our business moving forward. So if you hadn't done this prior, let this be a lesson, all right? And if your business is still around, like I said, no matter how fast things are going or slow, hang in there. Do you know what I mean? Don't let the media talk you into all that doom and gloom. I mean, people are still buying stuff. People are still consulting. People are still training. People are still seeking information. People still want your expertise. Zoom is there. There's a lot of paid speaking gigs going on there. Businesses are still selling things. Well, maybe not as much as they used to, but commerce is still rolling on, okay? So like I mentioned, maybe you're still cracking your head right now thinking, what is digital Darwinism? You see, I truly believe, that everyone who's running a business, their business should be profitable and enjoyable. And I truly believe that the majority of businesses that are going to fail by the end of the next phase of this economic turmoil are the ones who are still using outdated methodologies in terms of their strategy, their marketing, their sales, or their customer services. Because all those business methodologies that are rooted in maybe commercial environments that haven't been seen in more than 30 years are going to be thwarted, when the world resets and gets back to whatever normal is happening at the time of you listening to this podcast. And it's a kind of digital Darwinism. I don't know if you know Charles Darwin, who did that whole diagram about apes turning into human beings, etc., etc. So there's a lot of innovation that's happening around there. And if your business is just waiting for doors to open and hasn't actually started working towards this digital transformation, then hey, I mean, obviously it was fun while it lasted, and businesses most adaptable to change have a greater chance of survival. So you want to choose which side of history you're going to be on. And one thing that I'm bringing to the table for you to make lemonade out of these lemons is crafting a well-defined, sales funnel that will be funneling leads to your business so that your business becomes profitable and enjoyable. What I'm just saying to you is that, tough as it may seem, now is really the time to stop procrastinating and implement with this internal, this new internal and external business processes to have your company best positioned to ride out the current storm. And from what I hear, there's going to be more where that came from. So you want to be ready for the next one. I think Bill Gates has even written a book on how to get ready for the next pandemic. So, if they're getting ready, well, you might as well start, getting ready right now. And you want to take the best advantage when the sun comes out again. You want to make hay while the sun still shines. All right. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be the same ride. And I'm certainly not saying it's a guarantee to survival if you create yourself a sales pipeline. But at least you will have people that start to know, like, and trust you. And you do know that people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. But if you're looking to load the dice in your favor, and if you really want to win the next time around, I can't think of a better way to use your time, money, and effort and your resources right now than creating a sales funnel to grow your business, because your sales funnel optimizes all your sales processes. It attracts new customers and it gains a performance boost to turn leads into revenue. And you know what it does as well? It offers your company a chance to expand further into the market where you won't be available to answer every call that your prospects have, and you let automation do the work for you. So I'm going to venture into how to exactly do that and more, you know what I mean? But right now, I really want you to have a clear understanding that if you are not creating for and relating to your audience in terms of an automated lead generation process, then, like I said, grand opening, grand closing. When things open up, be prepared to be just taking, whatever you left in the office before things shut down, because you're not going to last that long. So you better be investing into the future, because, like I said, these things are going to continuously happen. If it's not going to be biological, it's going to be cyber. If it's not going to be cyber, it's going to be the climate. Something will just put the economy to our knees every once in a while. And if you've got an automated process that generates leads for you consistently, you, my friend, are one of the chosen ones. So what kind of thing am I talking about? You might be thinking, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this. It's all about aligning every customer touch point to deliver better, more relevant, and more amazing customer experiences, because half of the time we might have a lot of customers that are in different segments of their buyer's journey, and we can't be there for them in a consistent fashion. So we need to optimize all of these touch points in order to bring them closer to either getting on a call with us or to actually start doing business with us. Because maybe we're consulting out there, or maybe we are offering training, and maybe we are offering information to our clients. All we have to be doing at any given moment is proving to them that we are the right kind of person who can alleviate the pain that they're going through with the right product and the right payoff. Okay, so it's not just about the tangibles, such as reviewing their website, or maybe talking to them in person. You also have to be looking at maybe your sales materials, your advertising strategy, and whatever ways that you're reaching out to people, because every customer touch point is a representative of who we are and is aiding the customer to make a decision whether to work with us or not. Okay, so you want to refocus your whole strategy around ongoing and an unending quest to do things better, not for your business, but for the customer. Because in the customer's head right now, they have that, usual what's in it for me that's going on. Why should I care? And why should I be bothered to listen, to connect, to engage, or to be educated by this firm? And you know what? The more you are showing yourself up and you're creating for and relating to your audience, the more people get to know, like, and trust you. Know that even once the economy bounces back, we're not going back to the good old days. There's not going to be back to normal. The climate will be different. Customers will be jaded. Customers will be different. Customers would have already started aligning and following up to whoever has been working hard behind the scenes to connect with them, to educate them, and to inspire them to also get out of this funk. All right? So that means business is going to be different by the time we come out. So I keep referring to, making lemons out of lemonade by really focusing on how are you bringing customers to you right now. It could be a Zoom call. It could be, intra-person, or it could be getting them to download anything onto your website. You want to gather all these lemons and start creating lemonade. You see, I'm a very positive guy, and if this podcast is making you feel like I'm being doom and gloom, that maybe you're missing the point. On a positive note, they are growing signs that the worst may be over. Right now, maybe so. But as I speak, in Canada, they want the president out. In UK, they want the prime minister out. Everywhere we are, it's a whole big political confusion that's happening. So our customers are going to be worried about their safety first. And all our customers have gone from enlightenment. I don't know if you know of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They've gone from enlightenment to wanting to look for safety and homeostasis. So business confidence seems to be showing, a few signs of growth, but people are still reserved. They're still not going out and meeting with people, etc., etc. But you know what they have constantly? Their mobile phones. So what are you doing to reach out to people on their mobile phones? What are you doing to constantly be top of mind for when the time comes so that people can start talking to you? I understand, as a coach, consultant, or small business owner, growing your business can be tough. You're cold calling potential clients and you're having them hang up in your face. You know why? Right now, their kid might be coughing. All right. And when you're calling them and you're trying to talk to them about business, they're going to worry that little Joan is well. That's what's in front of them right now, and they need to figure that out. Or maybe you're sending out hundreds of emails without getting as much as a thanks for reaching out. Guess what? They're waiting for an email from their employer to let them know if they're going to work from home or not. And you're wasting maybe thousands of dollars on ad spend without generating any qualified leads. You know why? Because people are not certain what it is that they actually want right now. So if you've got a sales funnel that is working behind the scenes, you don't have to worry about the follow-up. Because the sales funnel, like I said earlier on, it optimizes your sales process. It actually attracts clients. It attracts new customers. It helps you gain a performance boost that actually turns your leads into revenue automatically. All right. And it offers you and your business a chance to actually expand further into the market. So some markets might still be closed, or some markets might be already dead. You can now start reaching out to international audiences. You can start, if it's just your state that you're working in, you can actually start moving interstate without you physically flying there, because you can now do meetings on Zoom. However, despite the customer journey being maybe a hot topic lately, and remaining relevant despite, all these emerging practices and whatever is happening, very few coaches and consultants are diving deep into its optimization. Not a lot of people are even looking at it in a way that it would help them do and have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. I mean, seriously, the C-19, pandemic has forced many to turn back into maybe offline operations and come, turn off their offline operations and come onto the internet. So that means the internet is now crowded. That means whatever noise was out there, there's now going to be a whole lot more of it. By the year 2020, Google had only indexed 4% of the internet. Now, can you imagine all those other brick and mortar businesses coming onto the internet as well? All right, we just commissioned, not so long ago, my company commissioned a website for a roofer. Some guy who had traditionally had his business coming through from word of mouth. And obviously he was getting enough of it. You know why? Because that was his way of operating. And now he now wants a website. Now, can you imagine coaches and consultants that really need to be out there? How are we differentiating ourselves? How are we nurturing each and every one of those people that have inquired about our work or has downloaded something from us and wants to start working with us? How are we engaging them? How are we educating them to want more, be more, and have more? We need to constantly be inspiring our audience because some of them don't have the positive mindset to think they're going to go out of this. And if we don't show them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that is not a train coming their way, man, whoever is out there connecting with and creating for and relating to their audience using a sales funnel is going to be reaping the work of their hands. And for you to survive in this novel space, your business as a coach, consultant, and small business must provide clients with enough information on your products, on your consulting, on your training, on your information, on your expertise. You need to educate your experts and your prospects. And for you to do this consistently, it has to be automated. And your sales funnel will do just that. And guess what then happens? You now escape digital Darwinism. All right. So I'm throwing in a lot of big words. I'm throwing in a lot of positivity. I'm throwing in a lot of inspiration. But what the hell am I saying? Well, let me start with something. Do you know what a sales funnel is? I mean, I'm not talking about, you going in and just calling people haphazardly and sending hundreds of emails without getting thanks for reaching out. It is often referred to as a customer's journey. All right. How does somebody come from knowing who you are, making a decision about working with you and actually converting and maybe even becoming a referral, partner or person? How do you nurture that relationship? Sometimes it takes over 13 touch points. Remember, everybody is just fighting for their own survival. So how are you making sure that you are touching people 13 different times so that they get to know you, like you, and trust you? First of all, you need to have identified your target market. Because if you're just going to be spraying and praying with your marketing, we all know what that means. You're not going to reach out to anyone. And once you've identified your target market, know what you're going to say to them. Know how you're going to engage them. Clarify your message. And eventually educate them on what to want. And the more you expand people's brains, they're going to need you to fill that void. All right? And then determine what media is going to be conducive for you to pass on that message, because you already know what your target market is. You already know that these are people that might be walking in the morning right now and listening to your podcast as we're doing. Hello. Or they might be sitting on their table and they've just clicked a link from LinkedIn and they've got a 30-minute window between meetings. Hello. Because we already know where our audience is going to be. They probably don't have time to be thumping through the internet. They just want information to be brought to them. And that's why you receive this podcast through an email. Hello. So a sales funnel is a potential client's, direction or map or route. You're just leading them to your bank, so to speak, Right. So let's put a fun example. Let me think of something here, because I'm sorry if you still feel like this podcast still hasn't hit it, in terms of explaining what digital Darwinism is and why you need a sales funnel. You see, back in the time, or maybe picture yourself as a kid, or if you've got kids, your kid. You walk into a candy store. Okay, and kids are always hungry for sweets. They're never hungry for food, but they're hungry for sweet stuff. So you walk into a candy shop, there's a fair deal of candy that is probably going out of stock, and it's just displayed at the entrance, and you've got a very energetic salesperson who's probably hyped up on sugar themselves, and then they tell you, oh, get this is the best thing, yada yada yada, and you're most likely going to buy as many as you can fit in your pocket. And in this case, the customer journey is you had a need for the candy, or your kid had a need for the candy. There was an energetic salesperson that was there who informed you and enlightened you and entertained you enough, and then you bought and you were willing and able to buy. Okay. But with our work, it's not as easy and as simple as that. Okay, this example is relatively simple, but it outlines the entire sales process. To get the most value, you as a coach and consultant, you have to optimize all of these stages accordingly. The first part is understanding your customer's needs. Second, facilitating the buying process. And third of all, making sure the buying process happens. So a great sales funnel delivers more sales and customers because you're just ushering them at the right moment, at the right time, and consistently. And then, however, the visualized customer journey is the key to your business high performance, and the deal has to be the right place at the right time. Because most of the time when people engage with us, they're not quite ready to buy. Okay, so a sales funnel actually consists of about 3 parts, especially in the online world. So there's awareness, then there's discovery, and then there's research, and then there's the actual purchase decision. So I usually call it ACDC, like the Australian band. Okay, so there's awareness, where people are just stumbling upon your content. This is a totally different phase when somebody's just coming across your stuff, okay? Or they're becoming problem aware of what might be going through or what problem they might be, coming across. So people always run into issues. People always have problems, and they can range from, maybe it could be a minor problem similar to maybe a small example of wanting candy, or a more significant problem, like I said, how my client, the bankruptcy lawyer, has a 4-month wait list. So no matter the complexity of the problem, the process of finding a solution is all about learning and comprehensive research. People are always looking for something that is cheaper, better, faster, that will alleviate their pain and take them away from that situation yesterday. All right. So first, your potential customers turn to well-known sources. Okay. And, some of the well-known sources could be their favorite media outlets or Google itself, to see all the information that is available to them. Where am I going to be able to get somebody who's a consultant in in fitness? Where can I get somebody who's a consultant in nutrition, or a coach that can help me train my dog, or things like that? No matter what the problem is, it starts with a question. Where can I? How can I? And next, then they verbalize the problem, and then they look for somebody who is an authority, or somebody who's an expert who actually understands what their struggles are exactly. And this is where you come in as a coach or consultant, because you already understand your target market. You already know their language that they're speaking. You know their needs before they ask. So at this stage, you've got blogs, you've got content, you've got podcasts like this. Your business must have the content that's dedicated to this specific problem in order for you to start building trust. Because if you can articulate somebody's problem better than they can themselves, then they actually assume that you've got the solution. So before they want to engage, they just want to find out if they are in the right direction. And this is where your content comes in place, and you start building the trust by engaging them and educating them into becoming a potential client or a lead. But a person becomes a lead when they've left their email address on your website. So pretty much in this stage, when they're searching for stuff, make sure you've got something that they leave your website with, or your YouTube channel with, or your podcast with, something they can then go and research in their own spare time. So this then leads us to the research stage. Now, leads are now actively searching for the solution that is offered, or whatever, to get rid of the pain that they have. And this is because the questions are now becoming more specific. You've educated them, right? But you don't want to lose them at this stage, because you haven't got a process well laid out for them to then follow what is the next logical step. Right. So, for example, in this research stage, instead of, looking for advice about how to lose weight or whatever, these potential clients now search for maybe, weight equipment, to actually do the job. So for you to push them further, maybe this content has to be about product guides or whatever information that you're selling, and whatever insights or comparisons. All right, so that they don't have to go elsewhere in order for them to make those comparisons about the information that you're giving them, or the expertise, or the results that you've given them. So at this stage, this is where case studies come into play, and then you are really offering the potential customer an opportunity to actually start working with you. And finally, maybe over several options are chosen, leads then turn to the company for maybe a final question. They might pick up the phone and maybe ask, or give you an inquiry. At this stage, they actually now become a qualified lead. You know what? They've identified that they have a problem. They have identified that they potential problem solvers, and you just happen to be one of them. Now it's time for them to make a purchase decision. So all of this can be happening behind the scenes via email, or your CRM, or your sales funnel. All of this will actually save you a lot of time, money, and effort if you've actually optimized it, and if you know the actual steps that your customer needs to be taking, and you're just maybe one step ahead so that they easily follow the next logical step. So when they're now making a purchase decision, do not make it difficult for people to buy from you. This is the grand finale. This is money in your pocket. That holiday you've always wanted, that boat, that jet ski, whatever your vision, whatever is on your vision board right now, those properties. Don't make it difficult, because the customer is fully loaded right now. They've got all the information, hands in the pocket, and they've got money that is burning a hole through that pocket. They've got a credit card that they're itching to just swipe right now and just get it over and done with. They now have a fully formulated problem. They've got all the information in order for them to make a decision. They've learned everything they need, and they've chose their favorites. This is the stage where Apple and Samsung, they've done all the work, and people already know what they're going to buy. No matter how whiz-bang the next Samsung is, if somebody's an iOS person, they're never going to be turned. And that's the same thing with our customers. They want to make as little decisions as possible, and we've already fed them with all the content information for them to make the right decision. And one thing that each and every one of us doesn't want to do is to make the wrong decision. So don't make it difficult for them to make a purchase from you. So now they're going to just pick maybe based on price and product characteristics. At this stage, customers turn to sources like your frequently asked questions. Maybe you do live demos, webinars, or product videos. Such content now starts to build confidence and prepares your qualified leads to take the final action. And when they're here now, customers go through maybe the negotiation and maybe inquire and want a sales proposal. And if everything is done right, you get a sale. So maybe you want to automate all these stages of your funnel, because you're not going to be there all the time when Sally makes a decision. And for you to automate this sales funnel, your business needs maybe some sort of sales management software that answers your core business needs. There's a range of, products that are there online. But what I just wanted you to know, I'm not selling any softwares here. What I wanted you to know is you can escape, this downturn in the economy by really building a sales funnel that will grow your business. If you check the way we operate, you might have maybe started off by downloading something, and now you're receiving, every day or every 3 days, this podcast, just so that we are continuously educating you so that you can do and have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So like I said, a sales funnel really optimizes your sales process. It excludes you from continuously, following up with people because you don't know what stage they are in business. So like I said, there's growing signs that the worst might be over, but you want to start building those relationships with them now, because there's 3 stages that your customer has to go through. And once they've gone through all of those stages, then at least they can start transacting with you. But you know what? That just doesn't happen automatically. Okay? You literally want to create that flow so that people know what the next logical step is. Like I said, times are hard and no one is saying otherwise. But guess what? After listening to this podcast, you are now head and shoulders above your competition because you now know how to build a sales funnel in order for you to grow your business. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au